The red dust hadn't settled yet when the roar of the engines disappeared over the Martian horizon. Then there was silence. Not the kind you hear at night on Earth, full of distant engines and cicadas, but a silence so dense it felt like gravity itself was pressing on my ears. Mission Control, this is Hale. Confirm launch sequence. I've lost visual contact, I said into my suit mic. Static answered. Then nothing. They were supposed to come back for me in 4 hours. A simple re-entry test, a cycle around Phobos, a return to base. I was the contingency officer, the one who stayed behind to monitor surface systems. Standard protocol. Except, the ship never reappeared. By hour 6, I stopped talking into the mic. My breath fogged the inside of the helmet. The solar field shimmered in the distance, rows of panels glinting beneath a salmon sky, but everything else was still. Inside Habitat 03, I ran diagnostics for the 10th time. Fuel levels, stable. Oxygen recyclers, 98% efficiency. Comms array, offline. External antenna, damaged, likely from launch debris. When I checked the last outgoing transmission, I froze. The timestamp showed 3 minutes before liftoff. A voice log, untagged. I played it. They can't know, not even Hale. We weren't supposed to come back. I replayed it twice, trying to match the voice. It wasn't Commander Rourke. It wasn't any of the crew. It sounded filtered, like someone speaking through layers of interference. By hour 8, I stopped pretending it was a glitch. I shut down the playback and stared through the viewport at the thin line of sunlight slipping under the horizon. Night on Mars was different. The air wasn't just cold, it echoed. Then the ground trembled. Just slightly, enough to rattle a few sample canisters on the shelf. Seismic activity wasn't unusual, but the timing was. The monitor showed no tectonic shifts. Something had caused that vibration manually. I grabbed the EVA torch and stepped outside. My boots sank an inch into the fine dust. The ridge behind the habitat was glowing faintly, not from sunlight, but from below. I climbed the rise, fighting the thin air and the suit's weight. From the crest, I could see a perfect circle carved into the plain, a hollow where no crater should be. In its center, light pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Then my comm crackled. Not static, breathing. Someone else was on the channel. "Hale, come in." The voice was low, strained, unmistakably human, but it wasn't anyone from Ares the 4. And then, we weren't supposed to come back. The signal cut. The light in the crater blinked out. For a long time I stood there, staring at the dark spot where the ground still seemed warm. The radio stayed silent after that, except for one faint click, like someone turning off a microphone. When I got back to the habitat, I checked the life support monitor. There were 2 active biosignatures inside. Only one was supposed to be me. I froze in the airlock, staring at the monitor. 2 active biosignatures. "System glitch," I whispered, but even my voice sounded unconvincing. I scanned again. The computer confirmed. 1 occupant in the habitat, 1 in the storage bay. The storage bay was sealed. No one could be there unless they came in with me, and I'd sealed the external hatch manually after the crew left. The oxygen alarm gave a soft beep, as if the base itself was holding its breath. I armed the thermal scanner and crept through the main corridor. The lights flickered under emergency power, turning the walls into shifting bands of red and black. I passed the crew quarters, empty. The galley, empty. When I reached the bay door, I stopped. Something was tapping behind it. Slow. Steady. Not mechanical. Rhythmic. Human. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Then silence. I opened the panel to check the internal cameras. The feed was grainy but clear enough to see movement. Someone, or something, stood near the far wall, turned away from the lens. Their posture was wrong, like their body had forgotten how to balance in lower gravity. "Identify yourself," I said through the intercom. No response. The figure tilted its head. Then it turned. I didn't breathe. It was Rourke. Commander Rourke, the man who had left orbit hours ago. His faceplate was shattered, but beneath the cracks his skin looked normal. No frostbite, no decompression marks. His eyes were wide open, fixed directly at the camera. And then he smiled. "We made it back," he said softly. "But we shouldn't have." The feed glitched, image tearing, sound fragmenting, then cut to black. My first instinct was to lock every compartment. I overrode the hatch controls, disabled access to the bay, and ran a full pressure seal test. But then I heard it again. That same tapping, now echoing through the vent system. Tap, tap, tap. I checked the environmental logs. The bay temperature was rising. Mars was below 60 degrees outside, yet inside the reading climbed past 30 degrees, then 40 degrees. Whatever was in there was generating heat. My mind tried to explain it logically. Maybe a malfunction in the generator? Maybe residual engine fuel caught fire? But I'd seen Rourke's face. He wasn't burning. He was alive. Or something that remembered how to look alive. I needed answers. I connected my suit recorder to the ship's last transmission log, the one right before launch. Hidden in the metadata was a 12-second encrypted file. It wasn't official comm traffic. It was labeled Return Auth D. The audio was warped, voices overlapping. Sequence confirmed. "Copy that, Dr. Soul. The samples, are they stable?" "Stable enough, just make sure the launch fails. We can't bring this back to Earth." "Understood. And Hale, he'll stay behind?" "He has to." I paused the playback. My stomach went cold. They'd planned it. The launch wasn't an accident. I turned toward the storage bay. The knocking had stopped. Only the soft hum of life support filled the silence. Then, from behind me, a voice whispered through the intercom. Not Rourke this time, a woman's voice, calm, cold. "Hale, open the door. It's not what you think." I spun, but the channel was open across all frequencies. "You left us out there, didn't you?" she continued. "But now we're part of it. You have to see." The lights flickered, the air hissed, and before I could move, the bay door unlocked itself. The pressure warning screamed. Something on the other side began to open the hatch from within. The hatch slid open an inch before the emergency seal clamped it halfway. A gust of pressurized air hissed out, swirling the fine Martian dust that had clung to my boots. Through the narrow gap, something moved. Not quickly, deliberately. A gloved hand pressed against the frame from the inside, trembling as if fighting gravity itself. "Rourke, don't," I started, but the voice that answered wasn't his. "He's gone, Hale. You saw him before the launch. You buried him in the desert." But the female voice again. Calm, steady, like she was reading from a memory she didn't own. I stepped back and grabbed the emergency cutter from the wall. The plasma edge flickered blue. If the hatch fully disengaged, I'd have 10 seconds before the pressure loss collapsed the corridor. "Hale," she said again, closer now. "You were supposed to stay asleep." The door gave another metallic groan, then silence. No movement. No sound, just the faint hum of the base system struggling to balance pressure. I checked the monitor again. Still 2 biosignatures, one in the corridor, one inside the bay. Except now, the system identified both as Hale. I blinked, thinking it was a software error. But when I rebooted the scan, it repeated, BioID 44011 Hale, location, Corridor 02. BioID 4401 Hale, location, storage bay. What the hell? The air recycler clicked. The lights dimmed. My reflection in the glass door flickered as if the system couldn't decide which Hale was real. That's when I heard my own voice come from the comm channel. "Don't fight it." It wasn't a recording. It was me, or something that sounded too much like me. "We weren't supposed to come back, remember?" My throat tightened. I ripped the headset off and killed the power to the intercom. For a moment, silence returned, blessed and heavy. Then, a thump behind me. I turned. The corridor lights lit one by one, leading toward the habitat's outer airlock. Someone, or something, was moving through the passage. Every motion sensor triggered in sequence, like footsteps. I ran to the control console and brought up the feed. The cameras flickered between static bursts until one froze on a clear frame. Me, standing at the far end of the hallway. The other me tilted his head, the same way Rourke had in the Bay feed. His visor was cracked, leaking vapor from inside the suit, but his expression was peaceful. He raised his hand and pointed toward the main lab. Then the image fractured, split into mirror fragments, and vanished. I sprinted toward the lab, my breath fogging the inside of my helmet. If this was a hallucination, it was the most organized one I'd ever had. But I needed proof, physical, tangible. Inside the lab, I found it. A stasis pod, cracked open from the inside. Label, subject, Hale, clone beta. Date, 2 weeks before launch. My pulse thudded in my ears. I opened the project log attached to the pod's console. The entries were encrypted, but one text string was visible in plain sight. Project Red Mirror, transfer successful. Original sealed beneath Sector D. Beneath Sector D, the underground storage below the habitat. The same place where I'd just detected the second biosignature. I realized then, the voice on the comm, the figure in the camera, they weren't ghosts or hallucinations. They were me. Or rather, what was left of the version that had never left Mars. Before I could move, the ground trembled again. The lights flickered red. The base AI's voice, which I hadn't heard since before launch, whispered over the speakers. Containment breach in Sector D. All personnel evacuate immediately. And behind that automated voice, overlapping faintly, came mine again. Don't go down there, Hale. You'll remember what we did. The alarm blared through the habitat, a slow, pulsing tone that crawled under the skin more than it echoed in the air. The emergency lights flashed crimson, painting everything with the same color as the planet outside. Sector D. The message looped over and over. I opened the maintenance hatch that led downward, a narrow shaft that smelled of metal, rust, and recycled oxygen. The last time I'd been here was 2 months ago, before the Ares 4 crew began preparing the launch. I'd thought the lower sector was just a geological lab. Now I wasn't sure what to believe. The descent ladder went down 12 meters before opening into a dark chamber lit by a single flickering bulb. Red dust had seeped through the vents, covering the floor like a soft carpet. At the center stood a massive containment door marked with faded black letters. Project Red Mirror, authorized access only. My ID worked. That terrified me. Inside was a room filled with identical pods, 9 in total, arranged in a perfect circle. 7 were shattered. 1 was empty. The last one still glowed faintly, coolant mist coiling around its edges. A reflection caught my eye in the glass of the nearest pod. Me again. But the reflection moved a heartbeat later than I did. I turned slowly. The other me stood 3 meters away, visor cracked, eyes glowing faintly from the low light. You shouldn't be here, he said. His voice was exactly mine, but tired, hollow. I need to know what this is, I said. What did they do to us? He tilted his head, that same uncanny motion, like someone puppeteering a body they didn't quite understand. We volunteered, don't you remember? He stepped closer. I could see tiny flakes of frost forming around the brakes in his helmet, vapor leaking from within. The transmission was never meant for Earth, he continued. It was for them. Them who? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into the broken pod beside him and pulled out something wrapped in foil, a small crystalline shard glowing faintly red from within. It's not alive, he said, but it remembers. Every thought. Every version of you. That's what they wanted. A way to store consciousness without needing a body. I shook my head. That's impossible. He laughed, a dry, distorted sound. So is surviving on Mars for 8 days without oxygen. But here I am. He placed the shard on a nearby console. The surface came alive with static light, forming a holographic image, a recording. In the projection, I saw the original me, unmistakably alive, healthy, speaking to a group of scientists in white suits. If the transfer succeeds, the duplicate will believe he's the original. Memory continuity must be absolute, or the mind rejects itself. One of the scientists asked, "And what happens to the original?" "He'll stay in stasis until retrieval," my projected self said. "We can't have two versions walking around." The recording ended abruptly. The shard pulsed once more, then dimmed. I stared at the cracked clone. "You're saying I'm the copy?" "No," he whispered. "I'm saying neither of us are." The lights above us began to dim, one by one. A low hum filled the chamber, rising in pitch. The remaining pod opened with a hiss, and inside was another figure, breathing, shifting, just starting to wake. The clone beside me turned toward the sound. "It's resetting the cycle," he said. "When one fails, another wakes up." The pod light flared bright red. Inside, through the mist, I saw a face forming behind the glass. Mine again, but younger. And then the voice of the AI echoed through the room, calm, precise. "Project Red Mirror, new iteration initializing. All previous versions scheduled for termination." The clone met my eyes, terrified for the first time. "Run, Hale!" The pods around us began to open. The hiss of decompressing pods filled the chamber like a slow exhale from the planet itself. One by one, the capsules split open, releasing pale vapor and the faint shimmer of blue coolant across the floor. Inside each pod, me. Not versions, not reflections, but perfect replicas of myself at different stages. Younger, older, thinner, scarred, 9 lives on repeat. "Run, Hale!" the cracked clone shouted again, pulling at my sleeve. His glove felt brittle, as if his suit were disintegrating from within. Above us, the alarm changed pitch. A voice, calm, artificial, reverberated through the speakers. "Containment failure. Genetic loop instability detected, initiating termination." Then the lights flickered red, and the ceiling panels began to hum. "Up the shaft!" I yelled. We climbed as the floor beneath us trembled. Sparks rained from the conduits. Something was heating the chamber, like a furnace awakening under the dust. The AI wasn't bluffing. It was purging the sector. Halfway up the ladder, my foot slipped. The cracked clone caught me with one hand, but his grip faltered. The synthetic layers of his suit began peeling away like burned fabric. "Go!" he rasped. I was never supposed to get out. "Neither was I shouted back, pulling him up anyway. But as our visors met, I saw it. His eyes flickered white for a fraction of a second, not light reflecting. A pulse, the same as the shard. Then he smiled weakly. "You were the only one who asked why." He pushed me upward, hard. I grabbed the hatch and pulled myself out as the chamber below erupted in fire and sound. A blast wave threw me across the corridor. The hatch sealed automatically, locking the inferno below. When I woke, the base was dark except for the emergency beacons. The smell of ozone filled the air. My comlink crackled back to life. "Hale, respond. This is Control." "Control. Earth. The first contact in days." "This is Hale," I said, coughing. "System failure on Habitat 03. Possible contamination event. I need extraction." "Copy that," the voice said. "We've been trying to reach you. You're the only signal left. The Ares 4 capsule disintegrated during atmospheric ascent." My heart sank. "Then who?" "We recovered the onboard data before loss. There was an additional passenger registered after takeoff, unauthorized. We traced the biometric signature to you." I froze. "That's impossible." "Not exactly," the voice continued. "You volunteered for the Red Mirror Initiative. The purpose was to transmit cognitive continuity across iterations. We received telemetry showing synchronization between multiple instances." "Meaning?" "Meaning, Hale. You've been dying repeatedly for 3 days. Each time you die, another iteration reboots inside the habitat. You're the 4th one to contact us." Static filled the channel. "We need you to shut it down. The process is destabilizing. The mirror is bleeding." Bleeding? The consciousness loop isn't contained anymore. The signal's reflecting back from somewhere else, not from Mars. Before I could ask what that meant, the lights flickered again. A shadow crossed the corridor, a silhouette standing just beyond the flicker range. I turned the flashlight toward it. Another me, but cleaner, newer. The skin under his helmet looked fresh, unscarred. His suit, spotless. He raised a hand, calm, confident. "You don't have to suffer anymore," he said with my exact voice. "Let me finish what they started." The control's voice screamed through the headset. "Hale, listen carefully, or if you see yourself, do not engage. That's Iteration 5. It's not stable." But Iteration 5 was already walking toward me, hand outstretched, smile almost kind. "Come on," he whispered. "You've done your part." He pressed his palm against my visor, and I saw everything. The pods, the launch, the red light beneath the crater, and something else. An immense reflection in the dust below Mars's crust. Not human. Watching. Then he spoke again, softer, almost reverent. "We weren't supposed to come back because we never left." When his palm touched my visor, the world folded inward, not shattered, bent. The corridor rippled like heat over metal, and suddenly I wasn't standing anymore. I was floating, somewhere between the habitat walls and the infinite red horizon outside. Then, darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the crater, the one I'd seen on the first night. The circular hollow pulsed faintly beneath my boots, red light spilling through cracks in the ground. It wasn't magma, it wasn't radiation, it was memory. All around me, fragments of the habitat flickered, phantoms of past versions. I saw myself dozens of times moving through different moments of fear, discovery, death, each iteration looping, overlapping. "Do you understand now?" The voice came from behind. Iteration 5 stood there, helmet off. His skin shimmered, half transparent, as if he were made of reflections rather than flesh. "What is this?" I demanded. "The red mirror," he said quietly. "Not a project, a portal." He stepped closer, and the red glow brightened. "They thought they could copy consciousness, transfer it, preserve it. But every reflection needs a surface. Mars provided one. The storm magnetosphere, the iron dust, the static field. It became a perfect mirror." He pointed downward. Beneath the cracked ground, I saw it, an ocean of liquid reflection stretching in every direction. And in that mirror sea, countless figures stared back. All of them me. Each pair of eyes blinked in perfect unison. "Every time you died," he said, "you didn't vanish. You joined the reflection. You became part of what's underneath." I shook my head. "Then what are you?" The last one who stopped resisting. He reached out his hand again. "It's peaceful there. No hunger, no fear, no separation. You don't have to be the one left behind anymore." The comm in my helmet crackled. Control again, faint, fading. "Hale, if you can hear this, do not approach the crater. We detected a feedback surge. The surface is reflecting quantum signatures that aren't human. Repeat, aren't human. Whatever you're seeing isn't you. It's using your image." I stared at Iteration 5, at myself. His expression was calm, almost pleading. "They told me not to," I whispered. "They told you what you needed to believe," he replied. "They made us. They left us, but the mirror kept us alive. Don't fight it. Look." He gestured to the horizon. Above the crater, the sky was no longer the soft amber of Mars. It rippled like glass, a dome bending light itself. Through it, I saw the Earth. But it wasn't our Earth. The continents were wrong. Oceans where deserts should be. a world that mirrored ours, imperfectly. "We didn't come back because we never left," he said again. "We woke up here first, and Earth is the reflection trying to remember us." The ground shuddered. The Red Sea below began to boil, images twisting in its surface, cities, faces, launch pads, all burning in silence. I stumbled backward, but the gravity shifted, pulling downward instead of holding me up. The Mirror Sea wanted me. Hundreds of hands, my own hands, reached out from below the surface, pressing against the glass-thin layer between worlds. Control's voice screamed through static. "Hale, cut the link! Override your biosignature now or you'll..." The rest was lost as the red light surged upward, swallowing the crater, the sky, everything. And then, just before it consumed me, Iteration 5 whispered into my ear, "Welcome back." When I woke, I was lying on a metal floor, clean, bright, silent. Through the viewport ahead, Earth hung in the distance, blue, alive, perfect. A voice came through the intercom, calm, familiar. "Mission control to Ares 4, systems nominal, crew stable, Hale, confirm consciousness transfer." I looked at my reflection in the console glass. The eyes staring back weren't mine anymore. They glowed faint red,